let's get back to this. On racism, on the decline of race relations, let's compare Donald Trump and his predecessor. So, according to a New York Times CBS News poll, by the end of the Obama presidency, race relations fell to the lowest point they had been since the 1992 LA riots, quarter century before, with 69% of Americans perceiving race relations as generally bad. According to a CNN ORC poll, 54% of Americans think race relations worsened specifically under Barack Obama, including 57% of whites and 40% of blacks. In 2009, this was the first instance of this. Harvard professor Henry Louis Gates tried to force his way into his own front door. I guess he'd forgotten his keys. Confused neighbors called the police. 2 officers showed up, one of whom was black, and asked for ID. Gates descended into hysterics, screaming, quote, "This is what it means to be black in America. Do you even know how many graduate degrees I have? Do you know who you're dealing with here? I'm a professor at Harvard. Can you even spell Harvard?" I'm assuming that's what he said, you know. The officers arrested Gates on charges of disorderly conduct. How did Obama respond?
Well, I should say at the outset that Skip Gates is a friend, so I may be a little biased here. I don't know all the...
Hold on, don't address that.
So I may be a little biased here. I don't know all the facts. What's been reported, though, is that the guy forgot his keys, jimmied his way to get into the house. There was a report called into the police station that there might be a burglary taking place. So far, so good, right? I mean, if I was trying to jigger into, well, I guess this is my house now, so it probably wouldn't happen. But let's say my old house in Chicago. Here I'd get shot. Now, I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that. But I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home. And number three, what I think we know separate and apart from this incident is that there is a long history in this country of African Americans and Latinos being stopped by law enforcement disproportionately.
There it is. There's the Obama doctrine. Listen, I may not know a single thing about the case here, but let me weigh in because it offers me a political advantage. The Obama MO, frequently wrong but never in doubt. Then fast forward a few years. In 2012, a Hispanic man that the New York Times desperately tried to call a white guy named George Zimmerman called the police, reporting that a young man who appeared to be on drugs was wandering around his neighborhood. The cops instructed him to stand down, but Zimmerman pursued him anyway. The initial confrontation remains a mystery, but all of the available evidence supports Zimmerman's claim that at some point, Martin knocked him to the ground, jumped on top of him, and pounded his head into the pavement. Zimmerman grabbed his gun and shot Martin. Obama, of course, could not help but weigh in on the local crime issue, and here's how he responded.
But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. Totally needless, senseless fuel on the flames of racial division, but that's Barack Obama. That's our not very nice culture. And it isn't totally Barack Obama's fault either. He spent 8 years degrading the culture, sure. But by the time Obama had come around, the left had spent decades sowing the seeds of division, decay, and victimhood. Enter Barack Obama, then enter Donald Trump. Our culture is a not very nice place, and we can't look to politicians to fix it. That's not what politicians do. Put not your trust in princes. To quote a true cultural figure, and coincidentally a guy who was both black and white at various times in his life, no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Good advice from an actual cultural figure.